You're doing things and maybe unknowingly, to cause them to now retreat, because now I feel like I can't be vulnerable with you, because when I try, you're not open to even hearing me. I'm not saying that you have to agree, but at least listen and try to understand, what it is that I'm saying and where I'm coming from.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Marriage Matters. This is the podcast where we talk about marriage matters because
marriage matters.
That's what it's all about. If you're joining us for the very first time, my name is Glenn Coleman, and I'm joined as always by my beautiful wife.
Okay. Tanya Coleman.
Yes, you are back after 3 weeks.
Yeah, 4, huh?
3. 3 weeks, yeah.
Okay.
Charles, David, ATM.
Okay.
We were supposed to do 4, but...
Okay, you had to cancel it.
Yeah, I had to cancel.
All right. So, I'm back. I'm glad to be back.
Yeah, I'm glad to have you back. Thank you so much for allowing us men to get our say, have our say, and get some things off our chest.
Well, I have to say that you guys did a very great job. You did a fantastic job hosting your guest. I enjoyed listening back to the conversations that you all had.
Thank you.
It was very touching to hear from men about your perspective, thoughts, and feelings about things, about marriage and manhood and being fathers. It was really, really great. So you did a fantastic job, dude.
Thank you so much. Yeah. Thank you so much.
Yeah, great choices too. Your guests were great choices. Yeah.
Thank you so much. But I'm glad that you're back.
I'm glad to be back on Marriage Matters.
Yeah. So before we get into today's podcast, just always want to thank all of you for liking, sharing, and subscribing. We do this content primarily for us first.
Yes, absolutely.
I always say that. But we want to hear, did that sound selfish? That we do it primarily for us? No, because you got to take the medicine first.
Right.
We do it.
I understood what you were saying is we do it for other people but the things that we discuss is the work that we're doing for ourselves.
Okay, thank you.
I think that's what you intended to say.
That sounds better. Then we do it primarily for us.
The rest of y'all.
No, but thank you guys so much for liking, sharing, subscribing, especially the month of June. Because I really believe that, we as men, we need to have those conversations.
Absolutely.
And I think we don't. I feel like I'm a little bit in front of you here. Is that better? Mm-hmm. But we need to have those conversations, and we don't have those conversations often enough. So with that being said, I'm gonna do more of that. So if you would like to be a part of a community of men, or if you're a wife, or if you have men in your life that you think would want to be a part of a community of men who meet on some type of frequency to have open and honest conversation, encourage each other, and build each other up, let me know in the comments. And I'm going to be putting some things together here in the coming months. So
I love it.
Yeah.
I'm proud of you. Look at you.
Well, what I'm saying? Trying to do a little something, help the bros out. So is there anything else? Any other, as they say, church announcements?
No church announcements. We're back. Yeah.
All right. So today's topic, I was kind of looking back through some notes, and one of the things that came up for me was getting through the rough patches. We were having this conversation with another couple, and we were just talking about how sometimes we believe there's an expectation, especially Christian marriages, that everything is going to be, we get married and, we're in the Word and we're praying together and
it's going to be
and everything's going to be smooth sailing from here on out. But that is a falsity. Can I
It's a
use that word?
false expectation.
False expectation. Yeah, I like that.
Yeah.
And I think that if you go into any relationship thinking it's just going to be perfect, whether that's marriage, whether that's your relationship with your kids, whether that's at work, whatever the relationship is, because there are two imperfect people in or multiple. And when I say multiple, I mean friend groups. I'm not talking about marriage, because there's multiple people in a potential relationship. Like I said, it can't. Someone is going to say something, do something, or something's going to happen.
Right. There's imperfection there because there are people there.
Right, and then just things happen. And so there's not always going to be. It's not always going to be sunshine and rainbows. There's going to be storms. There's going to be complications. And so what we want to do today is maybe give you a few things that may help you through the rough patches, because they're coming. And I think one of the things that really hinders people from making it through the rough patches is not knowing how to get through the rough patches. So when we do our premarital counseling, we talk a lot about, we don't just like talking about the good stuff. We talk, we want to prepare our couples to say, hey, it's like in Taken, he tells us, you're going to get taken. But here's the good news. I'm coming for you.
Yeah.
Right. So that's what it is. It's like, you're going to have an argument. You're going to have a disagreement. Something's going to come up. Something's going to happen, and it's going to cause hurt, heartache, or pain in the relationship, whether that's from you two or from an outside source. So we want to talk about a couple of things that can help you navigate through those times.
Yeah, absolutely. You said hurt, heartache, and pain. That's true. Well, I think one of the things is that we don't realize sometimes the impact of disappointment.
Yeah.
That sometimes when in marriage relationships or any intimate relationships, there are moments where your spouse, your partner, your child, your parent, your sibling will disappoint you.
Yes.
And sometimes we overlook those feelings of disappointment, and we don't realize that they still are residing with us as we're moving forward in the relationship. And it shows up in the relationship and the dynamics of us handling one another. And so, yeah, this is a great topic. I'm ready. Okay. Let's do it.
So the first thing that, and now, again, I'm speaking from, because this is for us first, like I said earlier. So I'm speaking, these are things that helped us. So we're saying, if you're experiencing or you may experience turbulent times, these are things that may help you. These are things that helped us. But as they say, different strokes for different folks.
Sure.
Right. But so these are some of the things that helped us. The first thing that I want to talk about is remembering the promises. Remember the promise or the vow.
Yeah.
So this is one of the things especially in our premarital course that we do, we talk really about the commitment, the covenant that you're making with your spouse. And it's not just words that you say. So we really, really, really spend a lot of time on talking about that and going into the depth of what a covenant is and how covenants are different from contracts, right? But remembering the promise and, some of the things that covenant says, that promise, that vow that you vowed before God is for better, for worse, for richer, for poor, sickness and in health, till death do us part. And so for me, when we go through a rough patch, when we go through a disagreement, when whatever it is, it's like I always go back to that, for richer, for poor. So I already know that because it's easy. The rich part, most of the time, is easy. It's the poor part that, So when we're going through any strain, I always go back to that and say, this is what I said I was going to do. And so what I want to do is I hold myself. And again, this is so beautiful because it has nothing to do with Tanya.
Right.
This is what I promised to God, that I would love this woman through whatever. And so I'm going to hold true. I'm going to keep my promise that I made, not just to her, but to God.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that is important, is that it's independent of what this other person is doing or has done. I'm still keeping covenant.
Yeah.
There are certain circumstances and situations where it may not be safe to keep covenant. So I want to say that, so to make sure to put some things into context. But if it's a disagreement, we have a different perspective or choice about something, someone didn't keep their commitment to do something that they were supposed to do, or, something like that. Those are things that we can work through. We're not talking about unsafe situations. And I know I always bring in the hard stuff, but I have to say that, because people, even in situations that we wouldn't think that they were in, unsafe situations or in unsafe situations.
Sure.
So I want to always make sure that we
absolutely
keep those things in perspective.
Absolutely. Because because there are things that, so I'm going to always keep my covenant, or I'm going to try my best to keep my covenant to God. But I think what happens a lot of times in a relationship is when the other party in that covenant is not willing to hold up their end.
Sure. Yeah.
Over when they've made it blatantly clear that I'm not in this with you, then that's when you see a lot of people say, well, I would never encourage anybody to stay in a situation to where they're being harmed on a continual basis, physically, emotionally, spiritually, however, So of course, we're not talking about that, but I'm talking about, just when times get rough, it's not when you have the disagreements on whatever, how you should spend the money, or you have whatever it is. For me, I always go back. I made this promise, and I'm going to hold myself accountable.
Yeah, that's good. I agree. I think we have to do that.
What?
Nothing. You just kind of stopped. And I'm like, okay, you finished?
Yeah, I'm finished. Go ahead.
So yeah, I agree. We have to make sure that we keep our vow, we keep the covenant, and remember that we didn't just make that vow with our spouse. We also made that vow with God or to God. And so keeping that vow, even when things get tough, even when things are not going as expected, that just means that we, husband, wife, need to come back to the table with God and say, hey, where did we err? Where did we divert? And get off the plan, and help us to get back on the plan, back on the same page. We don't have to be on the same sentence. Let's just be on the same page.
Okay.
If we need to, because I'm never going to do things exactly how you do them.
Absolutely.
I'm going to always have my own perspective and my own opinion. But as long as we're on the same page, then we are good to go. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And I just want to, I said this, but I want to say it another way, is that remembering the promise, remember the covenant, remember the vow, that's not for you to remind your spouse. That's for you to remind yourself.
Amen to that.
You know what I'm saying? So you can't, well, you said no, that's to keep me in check.
Right.
Because you made your commitment and your covenant. And so I can't hold up your end of the covenant. I can only hold up my end. And so
so I have a question.
Sure.
So what do you do? What does a person do whose spouse is not holding up their end of the covenant? Like, when that's happening in real life, real time, what should that other spouse be doing?
Well, the first thing I say, you need to have a conversation, but again, it's not it's not going to, it's not about throwing that in their face. It's going to say, hey, here's what I see. We need to have a conversation about A, B, and C, and I want to do my part in this, but part of me doing my part is to come to you and say, this is not what I expected this would look like. So let's have a conversation about that.
So that means that person would have to be open and have to be vulnerable with the other person to say, hey, this is what I'm seeing. This is what I'm feeling. We need to sit down and get clear on this.
And you bring up a very good point. You have to, in order to make it through the rough patches, you have to be you have to be honest. And I think early on in our marriage, that's something that we struggled with.
Sure.
Because we just didn't want to disappoint the other person.
Hurt each other's feelings. And I talk about this all the time, but in me trying to keep the peace, there really was no peace. I was trying to be a peacekeeper and not a peacemaker. Yeah.
Right. And so we had to learn how to say, hey, look, as regards this, it's not, I'm not saying that it's right. I'm not saying it's wrong, but I just doesn't, this doesn't sit well with me.
Right.
This decision, the way we're doing this, or when you said this, or how you did that, I need to have a conversation about it. And sometimes in the explanation, you get clarity and you get peace about the decision or the direction that you're going. But it's gonna make it's gonna make the quote unquote rough patch that much more difficult, especially if the other person is not aware. That's the other thing. Sometimes we don't even know that our spouses are feeling, or the person we're in a relationship with is feeling that way. And it makes it that much worse because here I am, I have an issue with A, B, and C, and you're doing A, B, and C happy-go-lucky, and you don't, and
am unaware that you're not okay with it.
Yeah.
And that the other side of that, babe, is that you have to be a person that is open to your spouse coming to you to say
that's true,
that I'm not okay with A, B, and C. Some folks don't like people telling them stuff.
So I guess you do have to be open on both sides.
Right. You have to be open because not everyone is in the mental and emotional space where they are okay with you telling me that because what they're hearing is I'm doing something wrong.
Yeah.
And so that's what they have issue with. Yeah. So when your spouse tries to come to you, you're not open and you shut them down and, you're doing things and maybe unknowingly, to cause them to now retreat because now I feel like I can't be vulnerable with you because when I try, you're not open to even hearing me. I'm not saying that you have to agree, but at least listen and try to understand, what it is that I'm saying and where I'm coming from. So, it has to be on both sides. You have to learn to be open to hearing from your spouse, right? And so if you struggle in that area, then that's something that you need to check within yourself. Why do I take issue with my spouse or anyone else that comes to me and they're sharing their heart with me about something that is not sitting well with them, is making them upset that I'm doing or saying? It's not that they're like, shame you, but because we're in this together, you need to know this, right? And so for people who struggle in that area, you need to search your heart and maybe get some counseling around that about what's going on with me that I struggle with that. There was probably some inner child stuff going on that needs to be healed from your past, you know? I wanted to bring that up because I see that often, people immediately get defensive, know, when, none of us are perfect, and I'm not blaming you per se, but I am saying that when you said this or when you do this, that doesn't feel good to me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. And what I was going to say is we have a tool that we often use, and I'm pulling up here. Is this it?
It's the communication piece.
Yeah. Okay. We have a handout.
Yeah, I have it saved on. Well, you're not on my side of the computer. It's the conflict resolution.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's not it. So anyway, we have a conflict. But what I was gonna say is this: if you find yourself in that space, that's where you have to get help.
Mm-hmm.
You need outside help. You need to go see a counselor, someone who has experience with conflict resolution.
Mm-hmm.
And
revolution too.
That too. But we have a tool, a conflict resolution tool, and if you find yourself in that space to where you're trying to have those conversations with your spouse or with whomever that other person is. And it's just a really great tool to help you gather your thoughts and go to them in a non-confrontational way, but still confront the issue.
Confronting the issue. That's great.
So if you would like that tool, reach out to us, inbox us, let us know. And we could send you that free of charge on the house.
On the house.
So just keeping in mind, remembering the promise, keeping the vow. And I want to say something else about that, but I forgot. But that's okay. We'll come back to it. The other thing that I want to talk about, that helped us through the rough patches, is keeping the vision or the plan before you. But before you do that, you have to have a vision. You have to have a plan.
Yes.
And so one of the things, and I'm going back to our premarital course. And I don't know, maybe we should offer it and call it like pre-marriage post. It's like stuff that we should have known before we said I do. Maybe we should do a course.
We have a course.
But specifically, a lot of the stuff we do in premarital is what I'm saying.
You're talking about bringing it to the no matter where you are in the marriage. Okay, I'm sorry. I'm like, wait, we got one.
No. This is something different. Anyway, but we often talk to, because I keep referring back to our premarital course. That's why. And we often talk with our premarital couples about having a vision statement, an actual vision statement for your marriage. Yes. And so you could always come back to the vision, come back to the plan. In the rough times when it's not looking the way it's supposed to look at the moment, it's really great to be able to, a great tool to take your eyes off of, and we're not talking about denying what's going on, but it's a good way for you and your spouse to look ahead and say, okay, this is what we're shooting for. Yeah. I remember one instance when we had the house we were leasing, things happened. We had to move out of the house, and we really wanted to buy our own house, but because of certain
finances were not where they were.
Things happened, so we were leasing a house, and that fell through, and so we had to move in with my mom. But I remember when we had that conversation, we had a plan, and the thing about it is when you plan. It gives you hope. It gives you strategy. It helps you to develop strategy. Sure. And with that plan, because I think we were faithful in the plan, and first of all, we went to God and asked for the plan. Right. And we were planning on staying with my mom for 2 years, saving the money, saving a really good down payment, and either buying or building. Well, that 2 years only lasted 9 months because I believe God honored that plan, and supernaturally we were able to purchase a home. And because we had, but my point is that could have been a very, that's not something we expected to do. Right. When I stood before you on May 26th of 2001, I never expected us to be moving in with my mom. Yeah. That was not in the plan. Yeah. But even when our overall plan took a detour, we sat down and developed a plan even for that moment. Right. And this is how we're going to get through this.
That's so good. You said moment. I like that.
Yeah, and that's another point. But anyway, and in those 9 months when it looked like this is never going to end, we were able to say, "Hey, no, wait, look, here's the plan. This is what we're trying to do." So, first of all, having a plan, a vision, a mission, a purpose. One of my favorite authors, ministers, preachers, pastors, Miles Monroe, he's no longer with us. He's with Jesus now, but he always said, when the purpose of a thing is not known, abuse is inevitable.
Abuse is inevitable.
So it's very important for you to define the purpose of your marriage in the beginning.
Yeah.
So that way you never abuse it.
That's good. That's so good. Yeah. You said moment, and that really, I think that defines it, because sometimes we live in hardships, good times, busy times, down times, low times, whatever, like this is forever, and if it's a hardship, it's like there's no hope. And we begin to, in our minds, magnify the situation. But if we would pull back and realize, hey, this is only a moment in our life, this is only a season, and that, what's years to us are moments to God, and trusting Him that he already has another plan in play, and we're just moving through one of those moments. What's the lesson? Yeah. What should we be learning in this moment? Yeah.
So, keeping the vision, keeping the plan, keeping that before you. The other thing, the next thing, and you just said it, is whenever we experience the rough times, what is the lesson? That's something I always ask myself is, what is the lesson?
Oh, you really did have that in the notes.
Yeah.
I didn't even read it.
Yeah. What's the lesson? And here, and it's twofold. I always look at it. How can I grow? Yeah. First of all, and then how can we grow? Yeah. Because what I found is that if I grow and she grows, then we grow.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I think what happens a lot of times is it's like growth sometimes is one-sided in relationships. And it's that can be a very frustrating thing.
Oh yeah, because you feel like you're pulling someone else along. Yes. It's like now we're limping. We're not like keeping stride, but one half of us is not, we're not on the same page. Yeah. And I mean, I think that's why it's so important that you get to know that person, and you're never going to know them 100% because we're still discovering things about each other. Oh, absolutely. But I heard one person say, I forgot who this was, but they said, you should see, you want to see people in all four seasons. Yes. And they're talking about physical seasons, but they're also talking about seasons and how they respond. So, pay attention, when you're dating someone, how are they responding to certain situations? When there's surplus.
Yeah. How do they act when there's a lot? How do they act when there's not enough? Right. How did I act when we were in college and my financial aid didn't come through? What did I do? Did I shrivel up and go to my dorm room and cry? Or did I get out there and hustle and get out there and grind? So those are things you want to pay attention to. But what other thing I was going to say, and I want to go back to the other one that just came back to me about the plan. If the rough patch, because rough patches should be seasons. But if the rough patch is becoming a lifestyle, then you need to really have a conversation. Yeah. You need to, you and your spouse, your significant other, you need to go back to the drawing board. And that's where you may want to bring in someone. Yeah. And it may be, if it's like there's, counselors, there's therapists. There's also like, if it's the issue with the finance, maybe you need to bring in a financial advisor, sure. To see, where are we missing or what's going wrong? If it's the communication style, or, of course, a coach or a therapist or a counselor, someone who is going to, I said coach.
Yeah. Okay. I was just doing a little advertisement. Go ahead.
Oh, anyway. So anyway, my point is like, if you find yourself constantly in that bad place, then that's not a season, that's a lifestyle.
Sure, absolutely.
But yeah, what's the lesson? How can I grow? And then how can we grow? And I can think of, even in that situation when we moved in with my mom, I think we really got closer. Not just you and I, but as a family unit.
Absolutely.
Just because we had to be so aware of what was going on. And I remember the girls were still in ballet.
Jesus.
And so it was nights where we were I was getting off of work and picking up the girls, or you were picking up the girls, and then we would meet at Starbucks and sit there, do homework with the girls together as a family.
Right.
Then go
One of us would bring
to ballet. Then you was going home. Maybe I would stay at ballet with them. You would go home and start dinner or whatever. So it caused us to grow. It really caused us to step up and be more strategic in our lives. So that's one way that rough season caused us to grow and become better.
I agree. Completely agree. I wasn't starting dinner because most days Mama had dinner.
This is true.
So if I was going home, I was doing grading papers and doing lesson plans. Is probably what I was doing.
Shout out to Lena Mae Coleman. She did.
I didn't cook until the weekends.
Yeah, it almost made me want to not leave.
Listen,
because I was like, man, this is kind of good.
It was good living. Yeah. But absolutely. Always seeing where you can grow individually, you all can grow together. And doing that intentionally, that has to happen on purpose.
Absolutely.
It's just not going to happen by happenstance. You really have to do some self-assessing, have a lot of vulnerable conversations as a couple. That's how those things happen. Yeah.
And the last thing, and you kind of mentioned it already, but I want to say it again, to remember this is only a moment. You are going to be together for a lifetime. So don't make rash decisions on a moment.
That's so good. Yeah.
This is just a moment in a lifetime. And just remember that if you are doing what you're supposed to do, this is just like that 9 months we had to live with my mom. That's 9 months. We've been together for 21 years. So if I would have let 9 months define 21 years, that just doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
So don't allow that moment to define the lifetime. Use that moment to catapult you into that lifetime. Like I said, the growth, let that be a learning opportunity, a growing opportunity. And when you do this right, one of the things that I found is that when you operate like this, usually the rough times brings you closer. It causes your relationship to strengthen, and you become just that much stronger. So don't allow the moments to define the lifetime.
Yeah, that's so good. That's really good. I completely agree.
Okay.
You did great. I have nothing else to say. You did great.
Oh, okay. I was like, you want to talk about that a little bit?
Well, just you did good. Exactly what you said.
That was a great moment.
Yes. Don't allow the moments to define the lifetime.
Okay. Yeah. So if you can remember all those things, remember the promise, keep the vision, what's the lesson, and this is only a moment. Those are some of the, and it's not all of them, but those are 4 things that, and don't forget to throw in the vulnerability and the open, and we always talk about
the intentionality.
All of those things. And if you find yourself in a situation that you can't, that is above your head, because there are some times where we came up against things with each other that were a little bit over our head. So what did? We didn't just shove it back down and didn't deal with it. We reached out and we got help. Don't be, that's number 5. Don't be afraid to ask for help.
Yes.
Because this is what life is all about. I believe that we are meant, and we are built for community. We're built, for connection. And so you don't have to be, you're not perfect, so don't try to be. So if you need help, get help.
Yeah. There's no shame in in asking for help or seeking wisdom from other places.
Yeah. So all right. So you got anything else to add to that?
No, that was really great.
All right. So that's all we have for you today. Remember, if you are watching this on Facebook and you don't follow us on Instagram, follow us on Instagram.
Please.
If you're watching this on Instagram and you're not following us on YouTube, follow us on YouTube. So that way, no matter where you at, what you're doing,
where we show up,
boom, you already there. Yeah. And also remember, you can also listen to the podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Anchor. Anywhere you can find podcasts, Marriage Managers, we're hanging out there.
We're there.
So, like, subscribe, follow, all those things. Comment, share. And the other
Tell some other people about Marriage Matters podcast.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, send them a link.
The other thing that I want to say is I want to remind you guys about the men's community. I don't know what we're going to call it yet, but I just want to really be a resource and be a help to other men out there who may, it may not even be that you're struggling. You just need community, and just having the conversations, the hard conversations, the tough conversations, maybe that you've been struggling with, or just encouragement in fatherhood, in husbandhood, or in manhood, or just in the hood. And the other thing is, if you want the conflict resolution,
yes,
I keep wanting to say revolution. The conflict resolution handout. Let us know. We'll send that to you free of charge. So that's all we got.
That's it.
So this is Glenn and Tanya Coleman reminding you that your marriage matters. We'll see you next week.
Bye.